one of the most important things that we've learned that we want to share with you is the power of not only commitment, but recommitment. So committing, I'd like you to imagine that you have a swimming pool out in front of you and it's hot outside. And you want to get in the pool because you want to learn how to swim. But you're just standing there on the edge of the pool, kind of looking. And so when you're on the edge of the pool or you're in the bleachers, we've got a lot of sports going on where it's big fun to sit in the bleachers, but when you're in the game, that's when you're committed. When you're on the side of the pool, you can have lots of opinions, but if you want to learn how to swim, you get in the pool. So if you want to learn how to really have thriving, fantastic relationships, you first have to get in. So one of the big issues for people is, am I in or am I out? Do I have both feet in? Do I have an exit that I'm just edging toward? Am I looking over my partner's shoulder to see if there's something better out there? So committing is the most important first skill. But if you see these illustration up here, you'll see this is a great one that I've always liked because it has committing is what gets you into the pool. It gets you moving toward what you really want. And we think, well, I'm going to go from here to there, just like that arrow. I'm just going to commit and it's all going to be good. I'm not going to have any issues. There'll be no obstacles. So what we found, and I imagine you would find also, is that life is more like that second. It's more like the squiggles. And sometimes those squiggles have rough edges to them too, and they're pokey. And when we run into an obstacle, what many of us do is either give up or blame ourselves or the other. What we've learned to do and want to suggest to you is that this is the time when you recommit. You just simply recommit. So I wanted to share with you the big commitment that made a really huge difference for me when Gay and I first got together was the commitment to revealing rather than concealing. So I did a lot of my growing up in the Midwest, and we're professional concealers because we've all been taught that if you don't have something nice to say, it comes out sideways in a comment about the person's pie, but it never comes out directly to them. And so when I basically concealed anger because I grew up with a very, very angry father and a crazy mother. And so when I would feel angry, I wouldn't share it because I didn't know how to share it. So I would conceal, and then I'd go off and feel bad about concealing and cry and blame myself. And then I'd come back and talk about what I had concealed. Because Gay would say something like, something going on.
And my difficulties were more on the learning how to get comfortable and talk about the tenderer kinds of feelings. Like I grew up kind of in the John Wayne era when boys weren't supposed to cry and that kind of thing. And so it was very difficult for me to talk about things I felt sad about, or particularly anything I felt scared or anxious about. There was this one turning point moment that I don't think we'd be here without it, because somewhere about a year or so into our relationship, we were really beginning to see how criticism and blame were such intimacy slayers.
Well, I would have just challenged that, because I think we hadn't gotten to that point yet. We were at the point where it really looked like it was your fault.
Yeah, we had, yeah.
Yeah. And I had evidence and friends, and yeah. So we were getting a lot of juice out of the adrenaline blaming.
Yeah, and so one Friday night, Katie had said she was going to be home at some particular hour, and this was in the days before cell phones, so it's not convenient to call back. So when the time came, 7 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever it was, and she wasn't there, half hour, 45 minutes went there. Finally, she came in the door, and mindlessly, I began to criticize her.
I've got that.
She's got 2 grocery bags in her hand, by the way. This should have been some little cue to me. But I was oblivious to that. I was so caught up in my urge to criticize her. Why did you kept me waiting here? No, we're supposed to go out later on. So, but in the middle of this little criticism rant, I suddenly realized, wait a minute. I sound like I'm angry, but I'm actually feeling scared. And in that moment, I made a shift and I said that I'm sort of criticizing you, but actually I'm realizing I'm feeling afraid right now. I don't know what that's about. And so I just stood there and kind of breathed with it. And I realized, oh, I'm afraid you're going to leave me. And if I keep you at an arm's distance, it won't hurt so bad if you do.
It was so magical because I had felt the arm's distance, but I didn't know what that was about. And of course, I thought it was me. I thought there was something wrong with me. And so having you share what you were actually experiencing opened up this intimacy that we hadn't experienced before. And that channel has kept widening and deepening and now creates this flow of delight and aliveness. And it comes from recommitting. So most of us think if I've committed and then I mess up, I'm a failure. We have commitment mistaken for perfection. So the big thing I want to leave you with in the terms of commitment is committing gets you in toward moving on your path, and recommitment keeps you moving toward what you want. Commitment is a wonderful place to come home to. So when one of the things I learned too when I was over here blaming myself for concealing is that if I just simply recommitted, I found that blaming myself was extra. I actually that wasn't a necessary part of the process. So most of us think we have to go through that blaming, self-sabotage, criticism, and then we can come back. But I want to encourage you to, as soon as you can recommit, you get back in the game again. And that's where all the fun is.
So we would get lost in the first year or two of our relationship. We'd get lost in some hassle we were having. And then one of us would remember, oh, we're committed to being emotionally honest with each other. And then we would make the recommitment to doing that again. And then we would be right in the flow of that intimacy again. It's just like when my daughter was a little girl, I used to take her to learn how to ride horseback. And I remember the first time she fell off the horse, I was sort of, but the woman that was the trainer, she just immediately got Amanda back up on the horse. And their philosophy there was, unless something is broken, you just get back on the horse and go again. That ability to do that with the big important things of life is really crucial, to be able to find out what you're really here for. And then when you lose it, to be able to come back home to those commitments again. So that's why we always say, committing will get you in the game, but recommitting is what will get you to the goal line.